Every time it's a new experience. Never repeat the same mistake is the key. It's always to commit new mistakes. That's the key to doing this. I'm finding. Uh, greetings. About 2 years ago, a person by the name of Carol started a group called Needing a Meeting. Dealt mainly with addiction to start off with, but then it turned into a group to dealing with all sorts of situations. This is my vain attempt to kind of fulfill that role while Carol is away working on some different things that she's doing. Welcome. Yes, at least this time I had my mic on. Um, sometimes all you can do is laugh. Today's show is dealing with masks, the masks we wear. And we're not talking about the vid masks for the face or the mouth. We're talking about the adapters that we use to social situations, these fake persona that we put up oftentimes to hide the real us. Uh, there's different reasons that we would do such. Some include to hide fear, to hide anxiety, to be liked and accepted, to hide our vulnerabilities, to hide sadness and depression. That's a big one. To hide happiness, which is one that, well, I could see how that would pop up. To deceive, to hide anger, to show masculinity and femininity when we are not feeling like it, and to manipulate. Of course, these can be both what we would consider positive and negative. A great example of this, a microcosm of this, would be in American societies when you say hi to somebody and you almost don't even we're so used to not giving a truthful answer. A lot of times we'll turn around and say, hi, how you doing? It's expected just to say, oh, I'm fine. It's very rare when you have communities where we don't we say, you know what, I'm a bit concerned. I have different things going on. So uh, it's really funny that in Japanese society, they say we have three faces: a face that we show to everybody, people out there, face we show to our families, and then finally the face we only show to ourselves. That's just the real us. Uh,
Mhm.
there, there was a there was an article online. The person who wrote it was he was talking about how he was looking at pictures of a gala event in the California. I think it was a I'm not quite sure what it was. I think it was some awards presentation for a Hollywood event. And he was remarking that people in there were wearing actually physical masks, and some of them, and little costumes, the whole 9 yards. And then he remarked to his dog that was intently listening, as our dogs often do. Um, and he was saying that isn't that so stupid? These people are wearing masks, and the thought that occurred to him, his little inner voice said to him, "You do." And in a way, we all pretty much have to. I mean, it's not
Mhm.
necessarily wise to show the real us to, we're not, you don't want to go to your boss and, oh, I'm worried that my son thinks this. I'm worried about
Mhm.
my addiction. I'm worried about that
Mhm.
I'm depressed. So, um, so they do have a function. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, that's the topic of today's show, or at least the main topic. And of course, as always, we listen to your comments and reply to those, and just see where the topic goes today. Christy,
Right.
The
Yes.
great and powerful Christy. How are you doing this fine day?
I'm doing really good. I've had it's been a hectic day, but it's been a good day, so I'm very excited. So yeah, and I think it's interesting. I was thinking about the topic of masks, just what I thought about it. Can you hear me okay, by the way?
Hear you fine.
Okay, okay. I just asked because I'm on Wi-Fi, and sometimes that gets a little tricky. So, um,
Yeah,
but
you look clear.
okay, good. Hey, good. I was thinking about it, like you said, some masks are really good for us to wear, others protect us, but narcissists wear masks. So people that are out to hurt us can also wear a mask. And so I think there's a lot of reasons for masking. And I don't, sorry, I'm trying to get my phone right here. The lighting's not good in here. So it's important to remember, when you're out, when you're meeting somebody for the first time, maybe there's those of you who are in a dating world or just making friends or business acquaintances, like really understand that the person in front of you, you're not seeing the true them for whatever reason. Like you said, if you go into a job interview, you're definitely not going to go in and be like, oh God, it's so bad. My kids are going off the rails. My husband is doing this. I've got anorexia and this compulsive disorder. And you just don't do that, right? Because that's not who you are at work. That might be who you are in your personal life. But, most of us are able to separate work and home. And so, you have a work mask, and that's important. You show up, you do a job, you present a certain way. And so I think it's just important to understand that there are people who are using masks for nefarious reasons. There are
Mhm.
people who are very, very, kind of like a crab, like they're crunchy on the outside, but they're really, really soft on the inside. So they wear a mask to protect themselves from that. So I think, there's a lot of reasons, and I think it's just most important to, just remember that the person that you're meeting initially, that could be part of their authentic mask, but that's not 100% who they are. Just like you said, Ben, that you're not showing 100% of who you are, and that's okay, right? That's
Mhm.
okay.
Yeah, yeah, and that one of the articles I found, I think it was on Harvard. It was
Mm-hmm.
in their divinity section. They were writing about, or the person writing the blog article was talking how he was used to this person who was at this party who had received really horrible news that he had incurable cancer and that he had already looked frail and everything. He was appearing in front of this group of people and he had already worked through all the stages and he had moved to
Mm-hmm.
acceptance. And one of the people at this party was remarking about how in his society, I believe it was not Peloponnesian. Oh gosh, I can't remember where it was. It was somewhere off in Southeast Asia, somewhere around there. And one of the sayings that this person used was saying, basically, you will finally get the chance to take off your mask. And he was talking
Mm-hmm.
about the only time we really remove our masks is when we die. And I
Mm-hmm.
just thought I thought it was actually pretty interesting. And some of the
Mm-hmm.
reasons that I named off, what was the one? Oh, what was it? Oh, for to be accepted, life and accepted. And I find that
Mm-hmm.
that was true with me. That I did that
Mm-hmm.
in the party environment back in college and high
Mm-hmm.
school and all that. That I
Mm-hmm.
definitely filled was filling a role that I thought
Mm-hmm.
needed to be, and I guess that need to be filled. And I guess that social chameleons will tend to do that a lot.
Right.
They will
Mm-hmm.
project
Mm-hmm.
what you, and of course, and your example was really great with dating. That is
Mm-hmm.
what you're going to do.
Yeah.
Our very own plant freak, the uh, the absolute ruler of Canada. Um, how you doing
I
today?
try. I try. I'm
she Ben
I'm a little bit
she's
like
the
washed out with the light right now.
She's the ruler of Canada and Canva. So let's
Oh yeah.
get that straight with the work that she does in Canva. She slays it. I gotta go check on something. I'll be right back. I'm just gonna turn my screen off for a second, but I promise I'm not going anywhere.
When you come back, I have news.
Yay! Okay, I'll be right back.
I have been listening. The dryer. So where I'm at. There's a laundry schedule. So all the women get their laundry done. You write your name on the list. Go to put my laundry in the dryer. The dryer's making, a horrific sound. So I just grabbed everything out, got the rack out, and like hung it all up. So I apologize. I knew I was going to be a little bit late, and then that happened too.
Hey, you know what? As the live came on, I realized my mug was in the lower right hand corner. So there's another mistake I won't do again. As long as I keep making new mistakes, maybe by the time Carol, if she reannounces the show, maybe by then I will have arrived.
I'm going to be Christy for a second. Mistakes are learning opportunities.
Yes. Yeah.
Like my laundry basket right there.
Yes, I think it
learning
was
opportunity.
I think it was Thomas Edison who said that he discovered, what was it, 1,000 ways not to make a light bulb, or 100 ways. Yeah, whatever it was.
Exactly. Okay, so I don't mean to is it okay, Ben, if I share a little bit of news and cut off the topic?
Okay. The floor is yours.
So first off, I have been lucky enough to be able to get Canva Pro. So that was really, really exciting. And I've been playing around for a while. And while I was playing around, I got this email that I've been waiting for, and I missed it coming in. It's not a great big deal that I missed it, but next Wednesday at 3 p.m., I'm going to be viewing a 2-bedroom apartment. You know? So the note from that higher up person in my situation has worked. And so it's not going to be a 1-bedroom, it's going to be a 2-bedroom, and it's like very, very close to Wee Man's school. I mean, like walking distance, like very, very, very
close. Oh, that's awesome.
It's in the town that I want. It's like I had said the other day, like Carol's statement of the river looks calm on top, but it's always moving on the bottom. And then I got frustrated because I found out Monday that the housing system made a mistake. And then maybe that mistake just universally happened for a reason. So that's what it is. I'm kind of excited.
Congratulations. You must be so excited. That's amazing, because that helps you with your custody issue, right? With Wee Man? That helps with that situation?
And it's also going to help me be in more of an Anglophone area. So that's what they call English speaking here in Quebec. So Francophone is the French speaking, and I'm Anglophone, English speaking. So I'm going to be more of an Anglophone area. It's going to be easier to find even just a part-time job if need be. You know, for now, I need to still kind of focus on the situation. But when I get the apartment, I get it set up, I can actually see what time I have, because now I'm going to have at least 4 hours of my week given back to me by leaving here. So because I have 2 meetings a week with 2 different social workers, and then I have 2 meetings as like a group a week as well. So that's 4 hours altogether I'm going to get back in my week. And that's just, holy crap, guys. I just needed to share.
That is awesome. I am so excited for you.
Thank you.
How cool is that? And isn't it amazing how, like, you know, because I know that you were disheartened and frustrated earlier, and it's so hard sometimes to see that maybe it needed to happen that way so that this good could come of it. And the good is now that you've got a 2-bedroom apartment in, you know, within walking distance of Wee Man School and where you wanted to be. So that's amazing. I'm so proud of you. That's so good. Yay.
March, April, May, June, July. That's 6 months. Of that section of it. So we're actually 2 days ago was my 9 months leaving, and my my 8 months leaving, 8 months no marijuana. And then I also had, you don't need to find any trophies or anything in your office there, Ben. I'm just letting you know. And then I also had my 9-month milestones for alcohol and hard drugs. So
I'm so proud of
all
you.
just holy cow right now.
Yeah.
Oh, that'll be so good to get in your own environment.
Yes.
It would be nice to set up my own little background instead of being like, here, guys, there's the bed, there's the thing. I've even made things for like my little recording space already. So yeah.
That's awesome. That is so awesome. And did you ever imagine when you first came on to Needing a Meeting that you would be here? Like,
no.
I mean, in this space right now, like with all of your milestones. Because I remember the night you showed up. You know, I remember that. I'd actually gotten off, y'all. I'd gotten off of the meeting. I was like, I gotta go, and I got a call from Carol and a call from Steve, and they're like, you got to get back on right now. And so I had taken off my eyelashes and I was in a t-shirt, and and I'm like, yeah, what are we doing? But I remember Carol and Steve just being so encouraging to you, and really just like, you're gonna be here, you're gonna get here, and here you are. And it didn't take as long as you thought it would take, because I know you thought it was going to take you years and years and years, and here you are, and I'm so proud of you. Yay!
Thank you. I'm feeling kind of proud of myself too. Feeling kind of proud of myself too, to be honest.
Yes.
Really good.
That's awesome.
Quick roll call. Tony B, welcome. Sandy Wendy, Ned, Packer Girl, good to see ya.
Hello.
Crystal, how you doing? Packer Girl. Body Illusion, how you doing this fine afternoon? Let's see here. Sandy Wendy, how you doing? Don Gloves, yes. And Don Gloves is going to be joining our very own resident ruler of all of Canada for as part of a panel discussion dealing with ADHD on Monday.
Awesome.
So
yes,
it's my other keeper. How you doing? Yes, I just had to give a quick shout out to everybody in the audience.
There you go. Hey, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, you know what? We are definitely not wearing masks of happiness right now. This is genuine joy and happiness for you.
I have a slight mask on right now still, because I'm like, I was so close to tears when I got that email, like happy tears, not sad tears.
Right.
So close to tears. I think Ben got like the most, because I jumped on. I'm like, I'm gonna be late. He got like I was still vibrating from the email. I still hadn't quite fully processed it yet.
Right. Oh my gosh, that's so cool. I'm so excited.
Oh, I can't wait for my own face. I can't wait for life. I know life has re-begun. I know that I'm figuring it all out. I know I've made progress. But this is like progress I can recognize without having to look too hard.
Right. That's
so I'm still
awesome.
A little bit, because I want to be jumping up and down and crying a little bit.
Well, that's not masking as much as just emotional regulation. You're just controlling your emotions at this moment and not like hiding. You're just like, I'll do my happy dance when I get off the screen. Although we could totally Seinfeld it up and we could all do the, happy dance. Like, that would be totally fine. Sort yourselves out.
It makes it louder, just so you know when you do that. It doesn't make it quieter.
Oh. Here I thought it was like protecting all of y'all. Okay, I'm sorry. I'll just mute myself.
No, it's okay. I just wanted you to be aware of it doesn't hide anything.
I didn't know that. That's good to know.
Future reference. Future reference.
Good to know. Yes, yes. Because I thought, well,
Yeah.
it was like, the old school landlines. Do you guys remember that? You used to put your hand over the receiver and you'd be like, stop it.
Yeah.
Thought it was like
Yeah.
that. Well, good. Yay. Yay, 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 yay. What
I
exciting
apologize
news.
for interrupting the topic, but I needed to share with everybody
No.
because I know a lot of people have that I see in the
Yeah.
chat have kind of followed along since I showed up in November. So
Right.
I wanted to
Wow.
make sure that everyone was up to date. It's been November.
Yeah.
November 9th.
Wow.
Actually, because I went back and I looked at a letter I got from Christy for my situation. November 9th was my first needing a meeting.
Right, because I had to write a letter. You all, Stasia asked, she's like, can you write a letter? And so I was like, I can write a letter. So I sat down and I wrote this letter, and then I read it to Carol because I'm like, does this sound okay? Because that was like fairly new into needing a meeting. I mean, we'd been going for a couple 3 months at that point, I think, when you showed up, but it was still fairly new into it. And I'm like, how do I say this? And I wanted it to sound really professional because I knew it was go into a court in another country. And so I was like, oh, Carol, we got to get this right. We can't mess this up.
This is serious sauce.
Yes, right. This is serious me, as serious as I get. Anyway, awesome.
So, I'm excited. Yay.
Good. That's wonderful.
So we were talking about masking. I don't want to focus on this too much because I really love the topic. Actually, it's something that I think I've brought up with both of you personally, like on like one-on-one conversations. And I think that this is like a huge thing for people to understand, because if we at least acknowledge and are aware that we're masking, we can work behind the scenes on what we need to work on to have less of a mask, because the more genuine we are, and that maybe this is the new spirituality that I'm finding, but the more genuine that I find myself to be able to be with everybody, the more genuine my intentions are behind anything that I'm doing.
Yeah.
Well, and
you.
Oh no, I was just gonna say that's true.
Well, yeah, and it's really interesting because a lot of the articles that I was finding on the subject, they brought up that it's actually a danger that sometimes we get used to living behind them, so much to the point to where we become artificial and we don't pay attention to the way we're feeling. And you can get that kind of emotional. That was one of the things that came up with ADHD. Again, this emotional disconnect where you don't really, you stop paying attention to your feelings. You don't realize the emotional space you're operating in a lot of times. And once you get that, it's actually fairly hard to overcome. You really have to do a lot of work to, it sounds stupid, it sounds childish, but to sit down and check in with yourself. How am I feeling today? I'm feeling, sad. I'm feeling blah, blah, blah.
Right.
It can be, you have to do this daily emotional maintenance just to find out where and who you are. So that, I found that one of the articles was ended with a poem by Charles Finn. I won't do the whole thing, but the start of it I found interesting. Don't be fooled by me. Don't be fooled by the face I wear, for I wear a mask, 1,000 masks, masks that I'm afraid to take off, and none of them is me.
Wow.
So
Wow.
that was.
And isn't that true? You lose your authentic self when you start putting up all of these fronts. And then it's hard to keep track of those fronts because, if I'm showing now I think it's important to say there's a difference between allowing what you allow people to see of yourselves, like if I have a closer relationship with Stasia than I do with Ben, Stasia's going to see more of the authentic me than Ben is going to see. But it doesn't mean that Ben's not seeing the authentic me. It's just he's seeing a smaller side of it until we get comfortable, or until Stasia and I get comfortable, because trust me, the real me is kind of, y'all, is a hot flaming mess up here. So, and a lot of really bad words and a lot of really bad words. But you lose part of yourself. It's like you lose your authenticity. You lose a part of that really important core of who you are. And it's kind of like living closeted. And closeted doesn't just have to mean like a certain thing, whatever you are thinking right now. Like, it's just when you're shutting yourself off from allowing everybody else to see that. So maybe that's your spiritual beliefs, because they joke about it in the spiritual world. They're like, oh, are you in the broom closet? It's a joke, but it's really kind of serious. Like, does everybody know what you do? Or, and, but you could be, there's a lot of ways. And any time that you're just shutting the door on a part of who you are, it makes it very difficult to live that authentic life that I think we're all really at the end of the day looking for. And I think sometimes those masks help us with the perception of that. And like I said, they can be healthy, they can be unhealthy. And so it's, why are you masking? And some people are like, well, makeup is a mask. Well, I'm putting it on because y'all ain't seeing my real skin. but even then, I have shown up without makeup on and no eyelashes. So, and that's kind of a funny ha-ha thing. But, even that's true, a little bit. But,
I call it war paint.
Yeah, my dad used to say, my dad used to tell me, you can put a little paint on an old barn, it kind of helps, but don't go changing the color. Leave it to my dad. Leave it to, meaning blend in your foundation.
Yeah.
So, yes.
Yeah. So, and to what Christy was saying there, and Ben, we lose touch with who we are and what we feel. And that's exactly what happened to me. I can't tell you when it happened in the last 11 years, but I can tell you it happened. I was sober for so long, and then all of a sudden, oh, this comes back into my life. Why did it come back in my life? Because I was masking.
Yeah.
Because I was trying to get past something that I didn't want to deal with. And maybe if I did that, it would make it better. And all of the masking. And even then, when we're joking about broom closet, I'm not comfortable enough fully stating all of my orientation because that's a mask that I wear. I don't know how people are going to judge me, and I'm not in an emotionally stable enough space to not let that judgment affect me. So that is my mask. I choose to not give that information. Hey, the interview movie with James Franco and
oh yes, Seth Rogen, yeah.
So there's a part in that they're doing an interview with Eminem, and they're like, he's dropping little breadcrumbs throughout his music on like how he's gay. And he didn't know how people, didn't pick up on it. I feel like I do that. And I'm not saying that I am, lesbian, but I'm just saying that I feel like I do that. I drop the little breadcrumbs, and yes, it's all very important to me, but I'm not ready to fully put it out there. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Right.
Well, yeah, and there's instances where we do not want to tell somebody I'm anxious, I'm insecure, I'm lost, and limiting beliefs will come up, and we use masks to hide our limiting beliefs. I'm not good enough. I'm you name it, whatever limiting belief that you have, or Tommy calls them ants, although they might be slightly different. But yeah, we're that's nothing. You want to go up to your boss or somebody you just met, and hi, yeah, I'm feeling really neurotic right now, and I'm really worried about that guy across the store, and I had this really strange instance earlier that was really traumatic
Right.
for you. And like, whoa, wow, okay,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, there was a classic example, and I was trying to nab the clip, and I couldn't at the time. The behavior panel did a video on a woman who had viciously murdered this man who, I mean, he wasn't a good guy. I mean, it was one of the instances where, you couldn't think of it as like a sort of vigilante justice, where this guy was, I'm trying to remember what it was that he did. He was a narc, and in certain
Oh.
neighborhoods, yeah, that doesn't go over too well. And so she
Mhm.
took him, and yeah, vicious. I won't go into that, but she was in prison, and there was a video shot of her, and she's trying so hard to come off like a psychopath. She's trying really hard, and they're asking her questions like, "Do you think you belong here?" And most 90%, 99% of the criminals are, "No, I don't belong here, and this is why I'm innocent." Blah blah blah. And she's like, "Well, yeah, of course I belong here. This is where I belong, and I love being in here. This is where my family's at." And it was really, her body language was really odd. And at
Mhm.
the very end, she's trying to give this interview where she's, "Yeah, this is what we do to narcs, and yeah, he deserved it. He had it coming. If anybody does this to me, yeah, this is what we do to him." And she was trying so hard not to look, because I mean, they were asking her, "What about your daughter? What about your son? What about your family? You'll, oh, well, that's the way it should be. I'm in prison and blah blah blah. And if you narc, this is what happens to you." Well, finally, at the end of the interview, she thought the camera stopped rolling, and so
Mhm.
she asked the interview, "So, are we done?" And the interviewer said, "Yeah." She's like, "All right." And her mask came off for a split second. She was overjoyed. She showed all this emotion, and she's like, "Ah, I did it." And she turns and she realized the camera's still rolling. And you can just see her face drop. But of course, they left that
Mhm.
in. But because that
Right.
showed, and she was trying to project a persona because she knew where she was going, and she knew that that
Mhm.
is the kind of place where you show, or you want to take on a persona, being a tough girl, a tough guy, a girl,
Mhm.
whatever, and that you're going to toe the line that Tommy talks about, where,
Mhm.
yeah, narcs aren't tolerated, and you have your own prison justice system, and yeah,
Yeah.
she was, and it had a role, I suppose, but yeah, it was a classic example of what a mask is, and
Yeah.
I think it was behavior panel. Yeah, they even called her out on it. They said, Chase Hughes said, "You can see the mask come off. This is the way she really is." Showing
Mhm.
emotion and everything. So I just thought that was interesting.
Yeah. Well, two of the masks that I wore was, when I was anorexic. Um, there was definitely a mask there because,
Mm.
you let people see you eat so they don't take you into, a treatment facility, so that when somebody says, "Did you eat?" you can be like, "Yeah, here, let me eat in front of you." Um, but there's also that, no, I'm fine. I'm just tiny. I'm just small boned. I'm short. It's okay. It's that mask. And, the mask that I would put on to my parents was that I was okay. I would make my lunch in the mornings, and so that they thought that I was eating, and I would, some lady in my mom's neighborhood got a lot of sack lunches because I would just like walk by and I would drop it in the trash can. I'd wait until I was far enough down the road, nobody could see me, and I'd throw it away. And that's what I did. But it was a mask I put on for my parents. They were really concerned I was eating. So I put on this mask that, yeah, look, I'm making my lunch. I'm taking it to school. I'm doing all of this stuff. No, I'm really fine. Even with this last eating relapse that I had, with Michael. Oh, yeah, no, I ate when you were at work. Lying, that's a mask. You're not telling the truth. And finding other things to do. So that was a mask. Like, that mask came back out. And I really didn't think that particular situation or mask would ever come back out. I thought I had it beat. But on a more positive note, when you're in sales, you put a mask on. So if I'm selling somebody something that I don't like, that I don't understand, I sold metal, you guys, sheet metal, to build barns and houses and roofs and all of this stuff. And, people would call me. And now I was inside sales. So I had a list of distributors, and they were all multi-million-dollar distributors in 5 different states. And they were established contractors. I mean, they pretty much knew what they wanted, but they would call me and I'd be like, oh yeah, this is great, but the amount of studying I had to put into it, but I put on that mask that I knew exactly what was going on. And so now I never, if I told if I didn't know something, I'd be like, you know what, I don't know that, but let me get with my guy and I'll call you back with that answer. But even that was a mask, because you would have to find a way to be relatable to that person so that they felt a connection with you, so that they trusted your opinion and they trusted you, and then they would trust your advice and your input. And that's why some salespeople could sell you a bag, a wallet, a keychain, a scarf, the matching shoes, and a jacket. And now there's obviously nefarious ways that comes up, but even that, I don't necessarily connect with everybody. Like, when I was working at Coach or something like that, I didn't necessarily connect with all of those people, but they didn't know that. I would find one little way to connect with them, and then that mask would come up. If they were, a cowgirl, I'm like, I got you, yeah. And we would talk cowgirl stuff. If they were, a hippie who had come down from Colorado, hey, Telluride, Crested Butte, Leadville, where are you? Where do you like to be? And then depending on where they are, if they're Telluride, oh, they're super bougie. If they're Crested Butte, they're pretty hippie. If they're Leadville, then, they're just like Old West, right? That, like, Wild West. So then you would morph into these things, and it was all these masks. So every day I was putting on all of these different masks. Now, was it unhealthy? No, I was doing my job. I was making a connection with them. I wasn't trying to take all of their money or sell them all of the things. I wasn't taking advantage of them. But you have to feel a connection, and that's really important, And so that's another one of the masks. Hold on. I got to deal with the dogs. I'll be right back. Continue on.
That's a very good
Continue
point.
On. So, and then something that when Christy comes back, if I need to repeat myself, I will. But I have a significant amount of sales background as well. I'm wondering, just listening to exactly what she had said. Yes, I understand the job aspect of it isn't unhealthy. It's the intention behind it, right? But I'm wondering if that made it easier for me. And I'm doing a lot of self-analysis lately. So everything that is said to me, I'm analyzing. Is that happening? Has that happened to me? Am I doing that for myself? You know what I mean? So I wonder if all of that sales experience and all of the putting on a mask, because I wasn't face to face. I was on the phone, and I worked for there's 2 major cell phone, internet, and television companies in Canada. And then there's one that covers part of Quebec and a part of Ontario. Excuse me. And I've worked for all 3 of them. And the metrics are so important. And if you're not just happy-go-lucky, it didn't matter what happened that night before. It didn't matter how bad that night was. Didn't matter what it is that I went through. I had to come to work, and whether there was a smile on my face or not when I was on the phone, I had to at least sound okay. And not just okay, I had to sound good enough for somebody to turn around and say yes to what it is that I was selling.
Yeah.
So I wonder if that was almost like, I don't know if this is even the right wording for it, but like a subliminal training on how to build these masks back up. Because at one point I was very open about who I was. like beginning of this last relationship, very open about who I was, very open for what it is that I stood for. And slowly the masks started coming back for different reasons in different areas. And then now it's like you said, how did you put it? I have a notepad beside me at all times. The daily emotional check-ins. I'm not joking.
Yeah.
The daily emotional check-ins. It's something that I have to do because if I don't, all of a sudden I'm like, why am I upset? Why do I feel like I'm on the edge of a cliff? And I don't know if I'm upset, like sad upset, angry upset, overwhelmed upset. I can't label it.
Yeah.
And then I understand that part of that is my neurodivergence. I do understand that. But those daily check-ins, it's honestly something that I hadn't thought about before. So just checking in and being like, hey, how am I doing today? Like earlier, I was sending voice clips and I was just like, I don't know. My brain's all over the place. I can't tell you if I feel buzzy happy, buzzy upset, buzzy whatever. I'm buzzy. I just know I'm buzzy right now. And then that's when we're like, okay, I really like this emotional check-in thing. You know, every day, whether it's in my journal or whether it's just look at myself in the mirror and say, okay, how am I feeling today? And whether it be 1 time a day or 5 times a day, it really doesn't matter because I need to figure out how to connect with that again. And I don't know, Christy, if you heard the statement I had made about the sales experience that I have and wondering if it was like a subliminal messaging type thing of like retraining myself how to let these masks just build back up in my own personal life.
Yeah. So to speak to that, I do think so. I don't even think it was subliminal. There's nothing subliminal about it. Obviously, we're very easily trained. So I think when you're in sales, you are really good at reading the room. You're really good at picking up on cues, whether that's body language, how someone's dressed. I would always look at their shoes. Like, no joke, what kind of shoes did they have on? Did they have on, like really expensive shoes? Did they have on Walmart flip-flops? Were their shoes dirty? Were they clean? Were they high fashion? Were they not? Shoes tell you a lot about a person. Mine are nasty old Walmart flip-flops. So that's just telling you where I'm at in my life right now. Anyway, but I would look at that. But there's a lot of cues, and we learn to read those cues very easily. And I think that translates into unhealthy situations. Like I will just speak to my situation. When I was married to my ex, I could read the energy in the room out of necessity, but also by the time that we had gotten married, I had been in sales for a very long time. And I could read. And one of the things he told me that he liked about me was, and it was also the thing that drove him the most nuts about me, apparently, was we could be in a screaming fight, throwing plates at each other, calling each other names, kids hiding in the basement. Someone would call, it would be his family, a friend, and I would be like this, and I'm like, hi, how are you? So glad to hear from you. What's going on? And you just, and he told me, he's like, I can take you to any situation and you can fit in. And it was because of that sales that I had, I could read the room. So I think that it does. I think that good salespeople are also maybe a little bit better at hiding things just because that's kind of the job, right? Like you've got to convince somebody. My stuff was always like high-end luxury items. Now, when I was selling metal, that was already sold. I just sold you trim and upgraded stuff, and I didn't have to try too hard at that, right? But if you're selling high-end stuff, if you ever walk into a Coach store, they're going to show you the purse first, and then they're going to warm cookie it. And I'm going to tell you what that warm cookie is. The warm cookie is, well, you just picked out this beautiful bag. Here's the matching wallet to go with it. It goes perfectly. And the thing is, this is a great wallet because A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and the wallets go faster than the bags do. So if you like to be matchy, you really need to get this, because between me and you, probably not going to be here next week. Now, was I telling him I had 50 of them more in the back? No, absolutely not. But how did that make you feel? Warm and fuzzy. And then, so then they had the bag and the wallet. And so then you're like, you know what? I got these cute shoes on clearance over here that'll match that bag perfectly. Come up. Let me show you. It's just so fun. Like just for fun, because, you know, girls and matchy. Go ahead, try them on. Walk around the store in them. There's some mirrors over there. Take a look. Look at how everything flows. I'm gonna leave you to walk around in the shoes in the bag over your arm. You just walk through the store. I'll check on you every time. But how that translates into masks in our personal lives is we can do that the same. So my ex-husband would be very horrendous when he came home, and that mask would come on. He would be in a good mood, a different mask would come on. The kids would be there, different mask. Me not eating, different mask. Us going over to my in-laws, whole other mask. That was a whole other bodysuit. You know, going to the kids' school, different mask. So much so to the point that I couldn't tell you who I was. When I left that, I had worn so many masks, and I had been, you know, put through so much just in that way, that's a lot of what my therapy was finding out who my authentic self was. Because just like Ben said, you get lost.
Yeah.
You get really lost. And so I do absolutely think, you know, we're very trainable in that way. I'm very trainable. I'm not going to say anybody else, but, you know, being able to read the room, and then that's something you don't ever lose. Like, I haven't been in sales in a while, but, you know, I could still,
I wish I could lose it. I'm not joking. Like, okay,
yeah,
we had an
can't.
The best way I can put it is a mass exodus today. There's and I mean like exit, not like dying. Like, people exited the house. There was 5 different rooms that opened up today. And there was it's just massive flow out, and there's going to be a massive flow in. Now, I've been having some issues with a couple personalities, and like I would walk into a room and literally felt like if they were there, I felt like I was going to vomit. It didn't matter what the energy was, just one specific look, one specific move, a slam of a dish, anything. And that would just set me off. So I kind of wish I could get rid of that, to be honest with you. I just kind of want to put like horse blinders on and just not pay attention.
You know, a lot of that, I mean, we all read. We may not necessarily be effective at it. We all read the body language at a different level. And it's really fascinating that children go through nightmares around the same time. It's about 3 to 5, somewhere in there. And it's as they start getting exposed to it, and it's the reason why clowns are so big for nightmares for children. They get exposed to things where they start to realize things aren't always as they appear. And that's the reason why clowns are so feared by children, is because at some level they realize this isn't real. They're portraying as a smiley, happy thing, and all they know is there's something wrong. You know, they can't place their finger on it. They just know that this thing is smiling, but I can see its mouth here, but it's got this painted on smile. And I find this interesting. Crystal writes, I made a physical mask when I went into a house treatment about 17 years ago this past year. I felt strong enough in my recovery to take that physical mask to counseling and smashed it. Let's see here. It felt so freeing as I crushed it. There was a freeing in my mind and heart. I thought, wow, that's powerful.
Yeah.
It's some of the things that we had even brought up, that a lot of times masks are used, and they even mentioned it where I got the list from, that they are used in a lot of times it's for us. It's for
Mhm.
us to adapt to a social situation, but they can also be used for manipulation. And
Mhm.
narcissists are big. Narcissists would be a perfect example. A psychopath would be even a better example, because this is
Mhm.
somebody who, and it's what they do, and it's why they give us a strange body language. Because what they do is they don't necessarily feel a lot of the emotions we do, but they key into the emotions that people are sharing, and they go home and they practice them. Like, that was
Mhm.
weird. So they do the same. Ted Bundy did it. He didn't know
Mhm.
Mhm.
when he studied.
Mhm.
He just knew that, oh, when something the world perceives as sad, you do this. He didn't care.
Mhm.
Mhm.
But yeah, that would be an example of a mask being used for, of course, for manipulation there. There's been
Yeah.
Mhm.
tons of Wall Street people who have been caught doing, the gal from Thanatos, or yeah, it was a
Oh, yeah.
gal
Oh,
with
the
big
Thanos.
blood
ears.
testing thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
wearing the
Yeah.
turtlenecks. Yes, yes.
Female Steve Jobs.
Yeah. Yep,
Mhm.
that's her. She was big on
Mhm.
that.
Elizabeth, what was her last name?
Holmes.
Elizabeth something? Holmes.
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 Yes. I was in
Yeah.
sales and I agree completely with both of you, or you both.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Um,
It's it's incredible how it is that we're so programmable.
Yes.
mhm. Mhm.
Yes. And
And that's
we,
something that I'm really learning as humans, we are very
Mhm.
programmable. And I didn't realize
Yeah.
when it was being programmed, but I definitely
Mhm.
realized when trying to deprogram.
yes.
Right. 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 Well, and it's hard to, it's kind of like that, like fire. Fire, it can be healthy, it can be unhealthy. It can burn your house down, it can keep you warm and cook your food. It's what you do with it. And I think the easiest thing to do, and it's just not that I've done it to people, but I've had it done to me, is to program somebody.
Mhm.
Like let's take a healthy programming. So when needing a meeting was still going on at the end, we'd be like, okay, let's do our box breathing and our meditation. And then how many people started implementing box breathing in their life? I can't tell you how many people were like, oh, I started box breathing. Oh, I hear Christy's voice when I box breathe. That's not me. That was a technique I learned in DBT that was helpful for me. But what did I do? I programmed you guys to box breathe at the end of needing a meeting or when things got stressful. So when we quit box breathing because my life flipped around, people were like, where's the box breathing? You know what I mean? So now, was I being, a shitty kitty about it? No, not necessarily. But I was trying, like giving a tool. So, but was I aware of that? Well, yeah. So we all do it.
Yeah.
We all do it. Now,
With intention.
that being,
What is the intention behind it?
yes,
Yeah.
that's it completely. Um,
Just dead
so,
right. All this all the stores were that way. I had a beautiful experience one time, actually. My associate got a bonus from it even. A lady came in and looked rough. She had been through it. Obviously didn't even flinch when he went to pay her, the same as every other customer. Eye contact, friendly, ask questions, perfect. By the time all was
Yeah.
done, he'd spent over $100 on every special we had.
mhm. And that's another thing. If you guys are in sales, never shop out of your own pocket. Just because you can't afford it doesn't mean that person in front of you can't. That's
Yeah.
my little sales tip
And
of the
they
day.
know their budget. You don't. Yeah.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
That was the hardest thing for me to learn. Was not to shop out of my own pocket. So now I don't. I'm like, oh, here, you need this. But it is. But and here's the other thing. So I kind of told like maybe the darker side of sales. One of my trim shop manager when I was working at the metal place, he came in and he goes, I will never look at you salespeople the same ever again. He's like, I've heard you. And I'm like, well, the veil has been removed. But here's a good story. You know, you do have those times when people come in, and, you know, like I remember in particular, this one couple came in and this guy was so proud, and you could tell that they just didn't have a lot. And he had saved up money, and he thought he had saved up enough money to buy her a really nice bag, and he wasn't quite there. So I was like, look, we've got some sales going on over here. We've got some clearance. Let's go take a look over here. This is what's in your range. So there were about 3 or 4 bags that were in her range. So we pulled those down, and then I went over each of the bags, and I'm like, honestly, this one is the best bag. It's the best quality. It's you know, going to wear better and last longer, but here you go. And because when they started looking at the prices, and this was the retail store, not the outlet store. So when they started looking at the prices, you know, those were some pretty expensive bags, even on the low end. You know, they were able to get down to where they wanted, and then they were both happy, and he was just beaming with pride, and she was so happy, you know. And I don't think a guy has ever been happier to hand over his money. I did not make that sale. I mean, I got credit for it, but they wanted it. You know, all I did was just, hey, here you go. So again, masks can be used for good. Hey, you know what? I've been there. I've been there. Let me help you. As a girl who's been there, let me let you in on the insider tricks, right? Now, if you know me, you know I have really been there. But again, I think you can't have masks without connection. Even narcissists, they use the mask to make a connection with you. In sales, you use your mask to make a connection. If you're in addiction, you're using your mask to disconnect. So you're connecting with them on a fake level, but you're disconnecting from reality. So it does come back to intent, but also to connection. You know, how are you wanting to connect through these masks that you have on?
The addiction side, I don't know if any, like, maybe I'm talking in chat here. I'm just thinking who I had on screen with me for a second. But the addiction side, for me personally, it was so that I would feel something, because there was so many masks for so long that towards the end of using it was, okay, I want to feel something. And then I realized I still wasn't feeling anything when I was using. So, well, so many different levels.
And, you know, I think it's really hard too to know, like, when you're being programmed and when you're not. And I think if you're aware of it, you can fight it, but you're not always aware. So I don't want anybody out there, if you have not been aware and you've been programmed, I don't want you to feel bad, because I wasn't aware of it, and you're not always aware of it. Now, once you see it coming, I tell you what, I can spot a narcissist from a country mile. I can, because of what I went through. You ain't pulling the wool over my eyes. I don't care who you think you are. But I did not spot the program that was being done to me. And so if you're in that situation and you've been programmed, I don't want you to feel bad. I don't want you to feel bad because that happened to you, because it's happened to everybody at some point. And the important thing is that you see it and you learn from it, and you resist that programming in the future. I just want to say that, because
I say that education is almost like a currency in that, in many different like aspects of mental health, but specifically in this one, education is a form of currency. We are figuring out what to get from
it.
And a lot of times being aware of what somebody's trying to do to you, a lot of times that will go a long ways. The media goes an awful long ways to try to program everybody.
Don't they? Oh, man. Now, I'm not trying to get into the weeds on this, but this is a funny little story I want to share. Stasia heard this story last night. So Michael, he called, and I called him. I was going to bed. It was like 12:30. Like, I'm going to bed. And he goes, "It's about time. It's past your bedtime." And I go, "Oh, really? It's past my bedtime?" And he goes, "Yeah." And I said, pray do tell, what is my bedtime? And he's like, 9 o'clock. And I go, 9 o'clock. And he goes, hold on. He goes, yeah. And I said, did you forget to whom you're speaking? And he kind of laughed and he goes, well, those are the rules. And I'm like, I don't follow the rules. And he's like, well, yeah, but I kind of made that up. And so here's the punchline. I said, I go, did you watch the Trump-Biden debate? And I go, do you remember at the part where Trump's like, I don't know what he said at the end. I don't think he knows what he said at the end. I'm like, that's you right now. I don't think you understand what you just said. No, we were just fussing at each other and we were laughing. So it was just, he was just kind of picking. But yeah, so there's those kind of things too. You can have a comical fun mask as well. It doesn't have to be all bad.
See, my mask is a lot of organization. Everybody thinks I'm super organized. Do you know how hard it is to be this organized when you're really not that organized?
Right. I am not an organized person at all. Hold on.
This is where I get one of the sayings I use all the time. It's a body language profiling tool written by Chase Hughes, 6MX. It's, the first law is everyone is suffering and insecure. Then the second law is everyone is wearing a mask. Third law is everyone's pretending not to wear a mask. And of course, the fourth law is everyone's a product of childhood suffering and reward. But yeah, I was thinking about that with masks, and I had that just sitting here. But of course, that also talks about social media and programming and all sorts of other things that we're talking about too.
Yeah.
But
yeah, even just commercials today. I was watching. It was a BBC show about like cute little cottages that they're taking people out to, go see which one they like. There's the house that they want, the house that they don't want, and then the mystery house. And it was just adorable. But I saw 7 different alcohol commercials. 7.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And I never really paid attention. I haven't watched television, like the TV cable box, in a really long time. I just happened to be sitting down with somebody who was watching it, and I couldn't believe it. There was 7 different alcohol commercials. No wonder. And not just that, medications too.
Oh,
because
yeah.
it was a US channel. So medications. Talk to your doctor about this. If you've got this, this, and this, and if these side of, you know what I mean? There's so much that is actually given by media. And like, let alone social media. I didn't realize how much was actually happening as a child with these commercials.
Oh, yeah.
And especially, when you were younger, well, like when I was younger, just times were different, right? And so what people could say and what they did say was very different. I mean, if you look at some of the ads from the 50s, you're like, is this real? Did people say that? You're like, oh my God, so yeah, I mean, it's amazing.
There's a 1950s movie that I absolutely love. Okay. And it's called The Maltese Falcon. But if that movie was made today, there's like half of that movie could not be made. At least half of it.
Yeah.
Right. Right. Or one of my brother's favorite movies was Blazing Saddles. There's no way they could make that movie today. There's just no way. No way.
They couldn't do that now. No, they've already had that media recently being like, look what he did. And it was in a time that was okay. Now you should judge them because now we're in a time that it's not okay. And it's
right.
I understand what you're trying to say, but at that time it was okay. Can we acknowledge that maybe we see the progress instead of crapping on them for what they did 25 years ago?
Right.
I find this interesting. In the 1920s, Sigmund Freud's nephew was one who's being largely credited with inventing or changing propaganda into public relations. He was one of the people that was instrumental in teaching America that bacon was for breakfast. Because before then, it was just used whenever. But
Uh-huh.
Well, I like this
yeah,
person because bacon's great.
yeah, he was really big in teaching people the whole public relations, advertising. You talk about masks. Advertising is where that.
Mhm. Well, and what a person to change how that all looked, right? Sigmund Freud's nephew.
Yeah, yeah.
But we do that, right? Like Ben, you and I do it with our channels.
Mhm.
Tommy did it with the lifeboat. It's what does it
Yeah,
look like? What's our message? What do we want to say? What do we want to convey? Um, I can only speak to my channel, but when Stasia and I are making decisions, we're like, yeah, that's where I want to go, or no, that's not quite it, or whatever. And so it's a lot of that. It's
Mhm.
a lot of making everything good, and hope that I don't think we've got masks on our channels, but I think just again the
Filters.
publicity of it, like how do we want it to look? How do you
Yeah.
show a side of yourself without giving everything to everybody? Because I think that's a huge mistake too. Like we've seen it with Tommy, where everybody felt so connected with him that, there was all of these people and they all had connections. But at the end of the day, like, it just came down to the people that Tommy met face to face and was in the group, and he's like, whoa, some of you guys, this is difficult. And watching him go through that and all the email stuff is why Stasia and I were like, nope,
Email.
boundary, mask,
Call it a
red
filter in
flashing
this
light.
case. Like I wouldn't call it a mask.
Mhm.
Like you said earlier, I don't see either one of you guys on your channels masking, and it's not masking
Mhm.
by making the decision on the production side to not
Right.
have the email. It's filtering.
Mhm.
There's only so much
Right.
information that people can handle. There's only so much information that people can take.
Right.
And if we want longevity and people want us to stick
Mhm.
around longer than a year, okay,
Mhm.
well, this is what I need to do to make sure that I can
Right.
continue. Because yes, I'm
Right.
here, I'm showing my face, I'm showing a little bit of who I am, but there's a whole bunch of who I am over here that I just
Uh-huh.
won't share because that's my personal
Mhm.
it's my personal choice to keep that there. And some of it's not my personal choice. I have to, you know what I mean?
Right.
For legal
Mhm.
reasons, I have
Mhm.
to. But
Mhm.
I wouldn't call it a filter. Or I'm sorry, a mask. I would call it a
Mhm.
filter just because
Mm.
there's only so much people can handle that I can take, and there's
Right.
only so much that people can handle
Yeah.
that I can say.
sure.
So there's like a
Right.
point too
Right.
where when I'm deciding to get to know somebody a little bit better, and then I'm just like,
Mhm.
I have a lot going on. And if
Mhm.
you're okay with it, I don't mind explaining it. It's fine. It will make it easier. If I needed to explain something later, I can just say my life exploded.
Mhm.
That's
Right.
all that I have to say, right? But at the
Right.
same time,
Right.
I don't want to overwhelm that person. I don't want to because
Mhm.
everybody has their own stuff.
Mm.
Mhm.
And for
Mhm.
my saying is I'm jumping over piles of poop and trying not to slip in
Right.
them. Okay. But I use the other word. And
Uh-huh.
everybody's doing that in my opinion. I see
Yep.
everybody in the world is jumping over their own piles of poop. Just try not to slip in them.
Um,
Mhm.
oh,
So
that.
Mhm.
I think it's important to differentiate the filter and the
Yeah.
mask at this
Well,
point.
yeah. Now
Mhm.
Not
Yeah.
that was one of the things that I saw Tony mention was that she's trying to work on or I think she said she needs to work on it rather that trying to develop a filter. Um, that's definitely something that takes finesse. That's something I'm
Mhm.
working on as well because sometimes it's
Right.
very easy to get me to uh, blow past that, and it's like that's not
Mhm.
helpful either.
yeah.
Mhm.
A lot of thoughts we have going on in our heads aren't productive, and a lot of times they're not even things we really mean.
Mhm.
There's I mean, you think about somebody dealing with temptation. Do we want to go out and smoke a cigarette? Well,
Hmm.
not really. I mean, our brain's telling
Hmm.
us we do, but it's like, no, my conscience has made a choice. I am not smoking. Oh, yeah, come on, you want
Hmm.
to. Now, if we voice that to everybody, I want to go smoke a cigarette. Well, wait a minute, you were my hero. You know, you got me to quit this crap, and now you're going to tell me you're going to go out there and but that's just yeah.
Right.
Filters definitely, and both everything masks and filters definitely have a place.
Hmm.
Because they do
Yeah.
keep us safe. When
Hmm.
you go over to your mother's, well, maybe nobody else. If you have a dysfunctional family and you have to go over to Thanksgiving dinner,
Right.
that's, trust me, you have to wear a mask. Like, oh, this is so good. Christmas. Everybody wears a mask at Christmas. Prime
Yeah.
Minister.
Oh, yeah. Right.
Oh, you
Jobs. I don't know if you
shouldn't
guys
have.
mentioned that earlier. Jobs. Like I don't know anybody
Hmm.
who doesn't wear some sort of mask at
Yeah,
their job.
sure.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well, you have to, I mean, because you can't just fall apart on the job, or you do what Stacia and I do, and you just take 2 weeks off and you're like, we're just going to fall apart over here, and then we're going to sort ourselves out. You'll see us again.
I promise. 1 week was her and the other week was me.
Right? Right? The first week was Stacia. The second week, I was like, no.
Matrix
No,
Rabbit.
no, no.
Oh, I'm so sorry
Oh,
to
I'm
hear
so
that, Matrix.
sorry. Oh,
Someone is
Oh,
that's
for
mama.
not
Matrix's
good.
mom.
Yeah. I'm so sorry, Matrix.
Goodness.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well,
So I think what I got to do here, guys, is I'm gonna have to jump off.
yeah.
I have had like this heightened emotion thing all of a sudden right before jumping on.
Right?
I'm gonna make a tea and I'm gonna like bring my energy to like I wouldn't say a baseline, just a little bit less chaotic, a little bit less excited.
Right? 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 Right?
I never would have
And
thought
Good,
you.
then,
good.
but I'm so grateful to be a part of this conversation, Ben. Thank you so much. It
Thank,
was,
thank,
Yeah.
again,
thank
I think it's
you.
a topic that I've talked about with both of you. It's just, I don't know why
Mhm.
masking is just so important to me, but, and
Right.
like getting the message out about it. So I really appreciate it.
Well,
Awesome.
I never would have pictured you for an extrovert, but I guess it makes sense. Being you, that's where you get your energy. You get your
There's
energy from
things you don't know about me.
you mask really well. It's one of the things that you said. Lady. Yes,
It's not a
it
mask,
is,
just a filter.
and I do know that my other's keeper getting ready to start a meeting, so this seems like a perfect place to end. I would like to thank our hosts. I certainly like to thank our audience. Thank you everybody for being part of this, and please, if anybody has any questions for the ADHD panel, please leave them in the comments, and I'll make sure they're included in the upcoming panel. Again, as always, thank you so much, people. I hope you all have an awesome day.
We'll see you guys. Have a good one. Bye.